Robstar gang, what up? What up? Appreciate everyone joining the live stream. Welcome to yet another episode of the Robstar Report. Appreciate everyone joining the live stream, everyone in here. Appreciate you guys coming through. We got a lot of stuff to talk about, man. I mean, it feels like we could this be slipping away? Could this be slipping away? You know? Could we be falling apart at the worst time? I mean, and Ejiro Evero got exposed in this game, and Dave Canales' warning, which we're going to talk about here first, and the playoff slipping. There's going to be some things that, that we need to really, we just need to be honest with ourselves. There's a lot of things that I want to talk about tonight that I think that maybe some people may not be talking about. All right. Sorry, I'm fixing this mic here real quick. Perfect. That's 10 times better. But here's the thing, man. The Sunday's loss to New Orleans wasn't just another frustrating loss. Man, it's like it's just such a gut punch because it's like the Atlanta Falcons handed you the division on a silver platter. And the kind of, and it was such a gut punch to the fact that the kind of forces an honest conversation about who we really are, whether this playoff push has any real legs to it, right? Because we didn't just lose to the Saints, we got swept by a team that seems that it almost seems like they were clearly more talented than us in a game that should have put them, we should have been firmly in control of the NFC South. But we got swept by a team that we are clearly more talented than. And you walk out of that Superdome with a loss, and it's just self-inflicted mistakes, a whole lot of questions. Now you're seeing all these different things come out about these refs in this game. But again, the thing is you can't leave it up to the refs. You can't leave it up to the referee, man. You can't. You cannot leave the type of games like against the Saints. You cannot leave those types of games up to the refs. You know what I mean? You just can't. You just can't, man. All right, let's get into the first things because Dave Canales basically calls this team out. All right. I want to get into this press conference, and it's really the last part of this press conference right here. All right. I really want to talk about, and we're gonna listen in on this. You guys are gonna listen in on with me on this. I really want to dive into this video because Dave Canales, all right, comes out, and this was on his press conference on Monday, and I felt like he sent a message with what he says here, right? Like he didn't raise his voice, he didn't throw anyone under the bus. Of course, he's going to take the high road on everything. He didn't single out a position group or name names. But make no mistake about it, he absolutely called his players out, okay? Like, he did, right? We're still trying to figure out who the hell we are. Like, this is a very young roster. We are we're technically a rebuilding team. This is a group that's clearly better than it was a year ago. We're just so wildly inconsistent week to week. We've shown some real flashes of real growth. We've shown some real fight. We've shown some real potential. They've also shown that when the moment gets big and bright, they're not quite ready to grab it, squeeze the life out of it. That really hit hard for me in the most painful way possible. It was just another deflating loss to New Orleans with the NFC South sitting right there for us. But it just seemed like the moment was too big for this team. And it showed, man. And it showed. It showed that it was too big for this team. That's what it did. It showed that it was too big for this team. All right. And, from the opening kickoff to the end of the game, I could just tell this team didn't look comfortable. The game never, like, going back and we were watching some film, it never felt like we were under control at all the whole time. All right. Even when the scoreboard said, even when the scoreboard said it shouldn't have been, but there was just some type of tension to the way we were playing. Like, they knew what was on the line, and I wonder, and I'm part of me thinking it like it got in their heads. But this was about talent. It wasn't about effort. It wasn't about the poise. Like, Carolina looked like a team still learning how to handle these expectations. A team that really hasn't figured out how to show up and to do it, and show up, do its job, and treat a massive division game like just any other, Sunday business, right? And that's part of growing in this league. Like, growth doesn't make losses sting any less when you know what's at stake, right? But shout out to everybody in the chat real quick. We're going to dive more into this. What's up, Panthers 375? Zach, what's good? T. Thompson, what's good? Appreciate everyone in here joining the live stream. Make sure you get in the comments. Make sure you share the live. And wherever you're watching, make sure you drop a follow, subscribe, and like. All right? But anyways, here's the thing. The window's still open. We know that. We know that the window's still open somehow. That here's the crazy part. Despite the gut punch loss, we're still in control of our own destiny, right? And 2 games against Tampa Bay over the next 3 weeks. You win those, you punch your ticket to the postseason. That would mark our first, playoff appearance since 2017, and our first division title since 2015. So the year they steamrolled the league before running into Denver in Super Bowl 50. That's not nothing. That's a massive opportunity for a franchise that was buried under at rock bottom not that long ago. But opportunity doesn't mean a damn thing if you don't handle it correctly. And that's exactly what Dave Canales was getting at when he was talking about this team on Monday. Now, Canales came out and says he wants professionalism, not just good vibes. Like, when Canales talked about this team, he wasn't preaching about hustle or passion or belief. He was talking about professionalism. And that word to me carries a lot of weight, right? It's not about the highlight plays. It's not about the emotional speeches that we see or any of that. Not we're close or deal. Like, professionalism. In a coach, when a coach uses a term like that's a loaded term, right? Like, Canales used it intentionally. He's talking about doing the boring stuff, right? Showing up every week and executing basics, knowing your assignment, handling situational football, avoiding self-inflicted wounds, making the other team beat you, not handing them free chances like an idiot. And Canales put it this way. All right, so let's listen in. And make sure you guys can hear it. Please let me know if you can hear it. If you can't, I'll fix it real quick.
They're like base calls that we had to be more connected on.
All that was disjointed, or the communication in the background?
It was the communication. It was the communication that was disjointed, and just guys not owning their landmarks in it.
What do you attribute the inconsistencies to? I mean, I think since October you haven't had 2 wins in a row. It's every other week. So what do you attribute that to? Is it just being a young team or what?
Identity. Yeah, this team trying to find an identity of professionalism, of maturity, to just have that consistent outcome weekly. That's what we're looking for. That's what we're shooting for. That is our best football. That's what we have to go find. And that's the challenge that we all have as a staff, and certainly the players as well. We're all in this thing together, and we have to find consistency, because that's what really good teams look like, is they show up week in and week out, and they do the basic parts of their job to where the other opponent should have to make spectacular plays to win the game if we all do our jobs well, whether that's offense or defense or special teams. If we execute our technique, if we do right, and we grade out at a really high standpoint, and our technique is right, then it should take an excellent effort by the opponent, and those things happen. And you got to live with those. You got to live with those individual wins and losses across the league, on the field, play to play. But the more that we can minimize the things that are given because we have poor technique, or the things that are given because we missed an assignment, we have to get that out of our game. And certainly the penalty thing needs to be cleaned up as well.
All right. So based off of what he just said there, to me, tells me this. That was not like a motivational quote, in my opinion. That was not that was a gut checking, like, reality check type of quote that he said. All right. Now I'm just going to reiterate what he said. He said, this team is trying to find an identity of professionalism, of maturity, to just have that consistency outcome weekly, is what he said. And he says really good teams show up week in and week out, and they do the basic parts of their job to where other opponents should have to make spectacular plays to win this game, to win the game. To me, what that translations into, it says, do your damn job. Basically is what he's saying. He's putting it in a nice way, okay? But he's saying in that, just that speech, that 2-minute speech he put in there, do your damn job. He wasn't saying that the Panthers aren't talented. He wasn't saying that they don't care. He wasn't saying something more. He was saying something more uncomfortable. They're not reliable yet, because good teams don't beat themselves. Good teams don't rack up penalties in crucial moments. They don't forget situational awareness. They don't play tight when the lights are bright. Right now, this team still does all of that way too often. And that's the gap between being on the rise and being legit. I don't think we're legit. I do think we're a team on the rise. I think we're a team that's definitely heading in the right direction, which is good. I'm okay with that. But you do have a chance to prove a lot of people wrong here. Because, I hate to say it, and maybe I sound like Dave Canales by saying this, but I think we're close. But right now, close doesn't count for shit. You know what I mean? Like, we're hovering on that edge, I feel like, of something real. Like, I feel like I can see it. I feel like this locker room believes it. I think the culture is healthier. The floor is higher than it's been in years. But the week-to-week inconsistencies is what is holding us back. One step forward, one step back. Beat the Green Bay Packers, lose to the New Orleans Saints, right? It's funny. Bryce puts up 448 yards, an absolute dud against the San Francisco 49ers, but then beats the LA Rams coming off the bye week, then loses the Saints. These are examples of how this team is really inconsistent. Again, it's been the same thing I've been saying all season. I do believe in this team. I think that this team is good enough to win this division, and I'm going to stick with that. Okay? I'm going to stick with that. And I'm just going to stick with what I said on the NFC South Roundtable. Not backing off my word. I do think that this team can definitely win the division. I do think that this team is the perfect example of Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. But when this team does execute, does play its football that Dave Canales is talking about, they can beat anybody. That's the thing. That's why I believe. It's hard for me not to believe because I've seen it, right? The problem is they just can't do it on a consistent basis. Panthers 375. I see your comment. You don't need to spam the chat. Fire DC, fire DC. Relax. We're going to talk about Ejiro Evero here in a minute and how he got exposed. All right. But in the meantime, again, it's just that you one impressive showing, then you follow a sloppy one, adding professionalism, real grown man consistency is how teams take the next step. It's how they stop being a feel-good story and they start being an absolute problem. The path forward, though, for this team is simple, but it's not easy. Like Canales' message in that, just that quote alone, it's not dramatic to me. I think it's very crystal clear that we have to stop worrying about standings and stop worrying about the division math. And we got to stop worrying about what this season could mean. Whereas we just need to handle the next opponent. We need to handle our next assignment. We need to handle our emotions. We need to handle the damn moment. That's it. Like, if we play loose, connected, and disciplined the same way we did while clawing themselves out of the league's basements, which we've done, that type of team right there has given us the best shot to win games consistently. But that's the problem. If they don't, they keep finding new ways to let these opportunities slip through their fingers. You have to find a way to figure this out, right? And figure out who you are as a team, right? That's the hardest. The hardest part isn't hearing a message like this. The hard part is how you respond to it, right? Canales has done his job by setting the standard and making the expectation clear without embarrassing anyone publicly. Now it's on the players to prove they can grow the hell up fast, right? Because the chance is right here still. The path is clear. But again, your margin of error at this point is officially gone. You have no margin of error. You have no margin of error. But I just thought that was a great quote. I thought Dave Canales calling these guys out was definitely well needed. Especially after what we saw and after what we witnessed this past weekend, against the Saints. So I think it's a great quote. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Appreciate everyone joining the live stream. Appreciate all you guys in here. Make sure you pound that like button, hit that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it. We've got over 26 people on the YouTube. Shout out to you guys for coming through. Let's talk about Ejiro Evero getting exposed. All right. Let's talk about Ejiro Evero getting exposed. Because he got exposed big time. And I'm going to bring it, and I'm just going to bring this up again because I'm going to go into a little bit more detail about it. I'm going to go into a little bit more detail about this again. I know we've kind of already talked about it, but definitely we just need to have this conversation again. Because I don't think anybody really realizes how important this is and what this is going to do to our team going forward. Again, Ejiro Evero, if he ever thinks that he's gonna get a head coaching job at this point, that's out the door. You're never gonna get a head coaching job, Ejiro Evero. If you somehow ever watch my show or whatever, that do me a favor and just release yourself, because you've done us really no favors in the 3 years you've been here. And we're paying for it, honestly. From a player standpoint, from a contract standpoint, at some point your excuses have to stop. The excuses have to stop. Like the improvement, like, here's the thing. I get it. The improvement is real. The improvement is real. I'm going to give him credit where credit's due. All right. But better isn't the same as good enough. I want to be clear on one thing before the pitchforks come out. And I know I've already had some people from my short that I posted last night about it. But Evero, I did give Evero some credit. All right. He does deserve some credit. After giving up the most points in NFL history, the defense is no longer a national embarrassment, but we're still in the middle of the pack. They look competent most weeks compared to last season. It's a massive improvement. Statistically, the jump is undeniable, right? So if we go look, I'm going to pull up the defensive rankings. All right, if we look at the defensive rankings right now, so this is total defense here. This is on Fox Sports, all right? This is on Fox Sports. Total defense right now, the Carolina Panthers are 17th in the league, allowing 331 yards a game, basically 332. We've allowed 36 touchdowns this season, all right? Passing defense. 17th in the NFL. All right. Rushing defense. 16th in the NFL. All right, great. That's good. That's good. So far, so good, right? Points in the NFL. We're 14th. All right. So still in the middle of the pack. Okay. Now, compared to the absolute disaster that was last year. Okay. Let's go back to this. Now compared to the absolute disaster that was last year. We were 32nd in yards per game. The only team over 400 yards per game. We were 32nd in rushing yards. We allowed over 3,000 rushing yards last year, and nearly 40 more per game than the next worst team last year. And we were also 32nd in points allowed last year with 31.4 points a game. All right. All right. Here's another thing. So, yes, things have got better. No one's denying that. I think this is where people aren't listening to me, okay? So I want to make this clear. Here's your problem. This is 3 years of Ejiro Evero's defense. When you zoom out and you use these advanced metrics right here that you see on the screen, the situational performance, the late game execution, the picture isn't nearly as flattering, right? You assess his time being here, where we have been ranked dead last in pressure rates in the 3 full years he's been here, 32nd. That's what you see down there at the bottom on that tweet by John Ledyard. Okay? Right now, we are at 31st. We rank 31st in pressure rates this season. What else do we do wrong? Which I said that we needed to improve on to win this game. It was one of my keys to victory was don't allow explosive plays on third downs. What did we do on 3rd and long situations against the Saints? We consistently failed on 3rd and longs. We routinely collapse late in close games. There's a pattern here, ladies and gentlemen, that people don't want to really understand. What you guys don't realize is this is a scheme that is built on hope. There is not answers. Evero's defensive philosophy is just painfully consistent. What I mean by that, it's inconsistent. It's so consistent that it's inconsistent. That's the part of the problem. It's a bend but don't break system built on soft zone coverage, limited man concepts, outside linebackers dropping into coverage, and almost desperate reliance on forcing turnovers, right? When it works, it looks like Ejiro Evero is an absolute genius, right? But when it doesn't, it looks completely toothless. Like the Packers, the Rams games are the best case scenarios. I would even say the 49ers game as well, all right? Even though we lost that game, but defense had 3 turnovers in that game. So timely takeaways, red zone turnovers, short fields, right? The defense didn't dominate, but it survived by stealing possessions. Against the Saints, there was no turnovers. There was no margin for error. And once that safety net just disappears around this defense, the entire thing collapsed like a cheap lawn chair. All right, chat. See, the pressure problem that has yet to be fixed, right? The biggest sin of Evero's defense isn't coverage. It's completely inability to affect the quarterback position. You cannot play NFL defense if you can't get pressure on the quarterback while he's sitting back there in the pocket ordering DoorDash. Okay? If you give the quarterback time to throw, what's he going to do? He's going to cook you. You can't rely or hope that your guys are just going to create turnovers out of thin fucking air. How should the pass rush get addressed, Zach? It should get addressed by changing the fucking scheme. Why are we trying to put our outside linebackers in coverage? So you're telling me that we want to put Princely Amamiel and Nick Scoring on the outside because technically in this 3-4 defense, they are the outside linebackers. Look, I'll show you. PFF, I'll show you show you. In this 3-4 fucking scheme. You're going to put DJ Wanum out there on a 3-4 fucking scheme and have him go on the outside? Look, here's your lineup. You're going to put Wanum and Scoring out there? This is just their base. You're going to drop those guys back into fucking coverage? You think those guys are best in a 3-4 scheme? Fuck no. You can't address the pass rush when the scheme don't fit the players and you're not putting them in positions to succeed. So tell me where I'm wrong, chat. Because people want to argue with me that our pass rush is just fine. We're getting enough pressure. Yeah. Okay. Here, I'll show you something else. Carolina Panthers pass rush win rate 2025. Here, I'll show you another thing. Team Carolina Panthers pass rush win rate is 33%. We're 25th in the, it says 25. What's good, Underground West? Our pass rush win rate, all right, is, again, our pass rush win rate is terrible. We're 25th in the NFL. And we're also we're basically dead last in what is RSW? What does that mean? Okay. So edge rusher, pass rusher, and okay. Okay. So edge rusher win rate. Okay. So our edge rusher win rate. All right. Our edge rusher win rate for us is 33%. That puts us at 25th right here. I'm showing it to you right now. We are 25th in our edge rusher win rate. All right. There you go. Then this is edge rusher run stop win rate. Okay. So our edge rusher run stop win rate, 26%, 32nd in the NFL. All right. Our pass blocking win rate. Okay. Let's see. Let's see what our pass blocking win rate is. Let's see how we're doing there. 59%. So we're 24th in the league. Okay. What is our run blocking win rate? Okay. Let's go look at that. 70%, 27th. Okay. All right. So not too, I don't think the rankings there matter a lot. I mean, maybe it does. I mean, the Bills are 75% win rate on run blocking, and there's 72% on pass blocking win rate. So 3-1. All right. 72% on pass blocking. We're at 59, for example, but we're at 70% on run blocking win rate, but they're at 75 at 1. But again, look at the Atlanta Falcons, man. 42% on pass rushing win rate. They're 31% at run stopping win rate. We are at 33% and 26% this season. And y'all guys want to sit here and tell me that this guy should stay. Like, it's not his fault. It's not, the talent's not there. All this other stuff. We're going to find excuses. Over the 3 season, this front office has thrown bodies at him. Brian Burns, Yedder Gross-Matos, Frankie Louvu, Jadeveon Clowney, DJ Wanham, A'Shawn Robinson, Pat Jones, Nick Scorin, Princey Mamielin. Are all those guys elite? No, but this isn't a talent. This isn't a talent vacuum either. See, here's the thing. Pressure doesn't matter. Pressure doesn't only come from elite edge rushers. It comes from scheme as well. There's stunts. There is simulated pressures. There's overloads. There's disguise. That's where Evero keeps coming up short, right? The Panthers rarely manufacture pressure. What they do, it's inconsistent and predictable. That's what they do. Instead, quarterbacks are sitting back there. They read this soft zone coverage, and they take what's given to them over and over and over again. Again, against the Saints, death by 1,000 easy completions. If you want a case study, all right, with this defense, the Saint game is it. And I'm going to show you. All right, I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you right now. All right. I'm gonna show you a few plays. All right. I'm gonna show you a few plays. Hold on, chat. I'm pulling up the film. Give me a second. All right. So watch this play here. All right. If you want a case study for everything that went wrong, and I'm going to tell you what's going wrong with this defense, the Saints game is. Carolina lived in off coverage. 3rd and short, off coverage. 3rd and 10, still off coverage. It didn't matter. The Saints converted 6 of 11 third downs, including multiple 3rd and long situations. The exact moments, okay, this defense is supposed to win. That's unacceptable. Yes, the linebacker play was an issue. Trevor Wallace, Christian Roseboom definitely struggled in this game, and especially over the middle of the field. But receivers consistently found space between the hashes. But that's just a personal issue. That's a personnel issue. That's also a coaching issue. Okay? Again, Evero didn't adjust. He didn't tighten up coverages. He didn't disguise looks. He didn't bring pressure to compensate. He just kept calling the same damn soft zones and hoping for a miracle. All right? But see, here's the thing. The film makes it even worse. All right? Within Ejiro Evero's 3-4 scheme, front, outside linebackers are asked to drop into coverage regularly. That's a fine theory until it puts players in impossible position. On Sunday, we saw Derek Brown, 320 pounds, asked to drop into coverage, and then the edge rushers vacant lanes. Instead of setting the edge, linebackers lose depth in a hook curl zones. Right? That's what we've seen. That is what we've seen. All right, so hold on. I'm going to get back to the film here. Give me a second. Okay, here it is. Yeah, this is the play I wanted to go over first. All right, so this play right here, this is a Devin Neal run. Nick Scorton's going to go low on a pulling guard instead of setting the edge on this play. Okay? Wallace is going to drift out of the position. Watch, because Wallace is right here. Nick Scorton's here. Okay? So Wallace is going to drift out of the position, basically become a human speed bump. So watch. I mean, that's execution. But it also puts your young players in roles that don't maximize what they do best. You know? Missed opportunities piled up. Right? Mike Jackson broke up a pass play for Juwan Johnson to secure it anyway. Jackson forced the fumble. Later, Roseboom failed to recover. Those swing plays didn't make them, right? New Orleans absolutely knew where to attack. Kellen Moore put on a clinic, exploiting Roseboom downfield aggressively with rollouts and quick motions. The Saints lived in quick game. underneath. They encountered with play action and middle of the field strikes using their size, like using Johnson and Bailey and Kevin Austin Jr. against a defense that plays off coverage as much as we do. It was a perfect plan, right? Like, here, I'm going to find another play here for you. Like, oh yeah, here it is right here. So this next play that I'm going to show you is Mike Jack's. This is the Mike Jack missed opportunity. Okay. Watch this. Again, this is a missed opportunity here. Mike Jackson broke up a pass only for Tre'von Johnson just to secure it anyways. Watch this. Oh, well, never mind. I thought that was the broken up pass. Never mind. This is the Juwan Johnson. This is the fumble. Roseboom's right there. Can't get on it. Right? But like, watch here's another play. Right here. Just look how much time look how much time look how much space Shook has in that pocket and time to throw. Boom. Look how open the middle of the field is. Let's slow this down real quick. Watch how open the middle of the field gets, man. We're rushing 4 here. Looks like Roseboom's checking down over here. Chris Olave, he's like, look, Roseboom's checking down here. The corner, I think, this is Shaw Smith Wade here. I think he's looking for the flat. Mike Jack's backing off over here. Here goes Chris Olave over here. Watch, Tre'von Wallace is going over to the middle of the field because now he sees, oh shit, I should be over here, covering here. And here comes Chris Olave, like, oh, thanks, special delivery. That was fucking easy. And then look how far off Nick Scott is. Nick Scott was all the way up where? At the 10-yard line at one point. Like, look how far. And then, like, look at the lineup. Line of scrimmage is right here. Mike Jack, it's 10 yards off the ball. Like, what are we talking about, bro? Like, that's the thing. Like, it's so frustrating. Like, when we're talking about this, like those plays, those swing plays right there didn't make them. Like, New Orleans absolutely knew where to attack. Kellen Moore put a clinic on this right here, exploiting Roseboom downhill aggression with rollouts and quick motion. The Saints lived in the quick game underneath. They counter with play action, the middle of the field strikes using their size with those guys. With minutes left in the game, we're up 17-10. Needed one stop. They didn't get it. Tyler Shooks marched the Saints down the field like it was a squifter walkthrough, the soft zone coverage, easy completions, no resistance, no counterpunch. Even Sam Martin, y'all remember the punt, deep late, had him on their 8-yard line. And I just knew what was coming after that. The defense practically escorted the Saints into field goal range. And then came the final result, the final insult. Lathan Ransom, idiotic late hit, gifting New Orleans 15 free yards. sealing the loss. Was it stupid? Absolutely. But the reason that penalty mattered at all is because the defense had already failed. Here's the thing. The defense set up that type of failure, if you think about it. It wasn't Lathan Ransom's fault that we lost the game. It was an idiotic mistake. But if the defense doesn't break and walk and escort that Saints offense down the field as it was doing, and that hit would have came in down there on the other side of the field, we probably wouldn't be having this conversation right now. The scheme puts players in positions where one mistake can end the game, just like that throw right there. This isn't an outlier. It's who they are. None of this is new, man. Under Ejiro Evero, the Panthers consistently fail to close games defensively. They struggle on 3rd and long. They rely on turnovers instead of pressure. How can we rely on our secondary to get turnovers, but yet our linebackers can't drop back into coverage because they're getting put into the situations that they're not supposed to be? We like Robert Griffin III said in the game, why is Derek Brown dropping back into covers? Why should Knicks, when we look at these lineups, man, like why should we rely on DJ Wanham and Nick Scorton to be dropping back into coverage? Like, let's look at Wanham's coverage grade. Okay, a 53.3. Let's look at Scorton's coverage grade. 73.9. Not bad, actually, for a coverage, because he's fast, actually, for his size. 61.9. Trevor Wallace isn't bad, but Roseboom, I guarantee you it's bad. 38.5. You can't rely on Wanham and Roseboom to drop back into coverage, man. You just can't. Those two guys right there, for sure, you cannot. This defense does not help its players succeed. That's a defense that hopes talent bails it out. You cannot put hope on these players to bail you out. And sometimes it does, but I can tell you it does not. It oftenly doesn't. Like, and when it doesn't, the games slip away. I'm just telling you right now, looking at this overall, man, and after what the film we looked at and everything, and the pass rush win rate, the rankings, everything, man. I don't think Evero is a bad coach. His time in Denver proved that, but the fit matters. The scheme matters, right? Stubborn, conservative, pressure averse does not align with what personnel or the situations we keep finding ourselves in, right? Now, his contract's going to expire after this season. It's getting harder to imagine that. I think he's going to be here and they're going to retain him. Dave Canales has a massive decision looming. How does he stick with a coordinator whose defense improves statistically, but fails when leverage is at its highest, right? Or does he acknowledge the hard truth that the ceiling of this unit is being capped by a flawed, inflexible approach? Again, if nothing changes and we keep losing the same games in the same ways, y'all are going to come back here and say, Clay, you were right. Clay, you were right. And everybody that told me I was wrong and will come back and say you were right. I don't know how much more I can break this down for people to realize that this guy ain't it. Thank you, Underground West. Good analysis, Clay. I think it comes down to a scheme. Yeah. There is no way they re-sign Evero. Now, actually, Zach, there is. I hate to say this, guys. And someone made a good comment about this. You can't let him resign unless you find someone out there that is available and that's someone you can bring in. Well, we'll dive into that next. How about that, Luke? We can dive into that. We can dive into that. We can dive into that. I'm going to say this, though. We might be bringing back Brian Flores, me please. No Diddy. Man. Listen, if we could get Brian Flores here, I'd be ecstatic, man. Flores is a dog. I like Flores a lot. He don't put up with no bullshit. He is not some conservative defensive coordinator. I would love Brian Flores for sure. I would love Brian Flores as a head coach, to be honest with you. I like Brian Flores a lot. I think he's head coach material, in my opinion. I think Miami should have never let him go. But they, Tua turned the ball over, such a pussy. He can't take criticism. Which half of our fan base is basically the same thing too. They can't take criticism of their own team. I'll tell you this. I'll be that guy to criticize my own team, and I'll be very fucking realistic about it instead of thinking that everything's sunshine and rainbows and we're just gonna win every fucking game. It's not how it works. It's not how it works. But let's get into that, Luke. Let's get into that. All right, hold on. I got to find it real quick. In my bookmarks. All right. Bryce Young. I'm going to explain why really quick. I'm going to explain why really quick. Bryce Young, okay? Did not, and it'll be the last time I say it. Okay? Bryce Young is not the one to blame for this loss. Okay? All right. Here's the thing. Pro Football Focus didn't exactly shower us with praise after this week. Okay. We slid down to the power rankings once again. We're around 26, one spot of the previous week. That's not, of course, it's not flattering for a team that technically controls its own playoff destiny, which is still interesting that we dropped that far. But it does reflect just how erratic their play has been over the last 2 months, right? But here's the thing. I'm going to say this. All right. It was not Bryce Young's fault by any means. Deserve blame. Do I think he could have played better? Sure. But does he deserve a whole lot of blame? Absolutely not. See, from a team standpoint, the offensive numbers weren't great. We finished this game with only like 280 plus yards. We also had 11 accepted penalties for 103 yards. Okay. That's sloppy, undisciplined football. It kills momentum no matter who's playing quarterback. The fuck are we talking about? We posted a 36.8% success rate from an offensive standpoint, which is objectively bad. Drive stalled, rhythm never fully developed, and the offense failed to capitalize on multiple opportunities. But here's where Bryce Young narrative falls apart, ladies and gentlemen. Despite all that dysfunction, Young actually played pretty damn well, right? First off, PFF gave him a 78.4 PFF grade. He had a 66.9 passing grade. He had a 5 of 7 completions on throws over 10 yards, which some people aren't which some people don't know, right? Some people talk about him not throwing it more past the 10-yard marker. Well, he had 5 of 7 of his 5 of 7 completions on throws over 10 yards, 126 yards and a touchdown on those 5 throws. By the way, there was 126 yards and a touchdown. So 5 of the 7 completions were over 10 yards, and the total yards out of those 5 completions were 126 yards and got a touchdown out of it. That's not bad quarterback play. Again, that's a efficient, composed, aggressive when given the chance, right? If we talk about the highlight of that, if we're talking about out of those throws, was the touchdown to Jalen Coker. That is a kind of throw that reminds you why the Panthers invested in him. Okay. All right. Again, was he perfect? No. But he wasn't reckless. He didn't panic. He didn't put the team in a hole. If anything, he tried to win the game for us. He did enough to keep us competitive in this game. He actually did enough, honestly, for being honest, to win. That's where things fell apart. If you're going to blame anybody once again, you got to blame the defense. The defense fell apart when it mattered. Point blank period. If you're looking for a reason where Carolina lost, which is what we just went over, look no further than the fourth quarter, where our defense absolutely collapsed down that stretch. Tyler Shook, who had been relatively contained for much of the game, suddenly looked like a seasoned vet, carving up our soft zone, predictable defense. Just in the fourth quarter alone, chat, the Saints racked up 172 total yards. Shook threw for 162 yards and a touchdown. 5 of his 13 completions came in that quarter, including a game-changing score to Chris Olave. That's not Bryce Young's fault. He can't play defense. That's a defense failing to specifically in the biggest moment of the game. See, when we needed a stop, just one, they couldn't even get it. Coverage broke down. Pressure disappeared. The Saints marched down the field like they exactly knew what was coming. And again, penalties, missed opportunities, again, did not help either. Like, we did ourselves 0 favors with the penalties. 11 flags for over 100 yards in a game period is brutal. Especially in an unforgivable, in a tight divisional matchup with playoff implications. Those mistakes don't show up in Bryce Young's stat line, but they absolutely show up on the scoreboard. They absolutely show up on the scoreboard. They've had so many different offensive lines come, it's hard to ask for much. And again, what's up, Dom? The Rob Star, yeah. Why Ransom and Morig not blitzing 5-6 times a game? I don't know, David. Well, has Damani Richardson played at all this season? I think he has, but I don't know. I don't even know his snap count. I couldn't tell you his snap count, Zach. All right. I couldn't even tell you his snap count. But again, so all I'm going to say is this, guys. The dream scenario at this point for us Carolina Panthers is we sweep the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That's the dream scenario at this point. I'm going to just tell you that right now. That's the only dream scenario at this point. We have to sweep the Bucs. I cannot rely on the Miami Dolphins to beat Tampa Bay. I can't. I mean, I know there's the other path where We lose one. We split with the Bucs. We beat Seattle, and we hope Miami beats the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But I can't do that. I can't rely on that. I can't rely on that. That's the dream scenario, man. I do want to say this though. There is one thing I want to talk about, and it's let me see if I can find what I wanted to talk. Another person I want to talk about. Let's see here. Look at that coming up, man. Look how close that is. Golly. I'm going to tell you this right now, chat. There's one damn thing I think this team has to do that they want to steal the NFC South. All right. All right. If there's one thing that we have to do. We have to, if we want to steal the NFC South, I think there's one thing we have to do. We have to stop ignoring this man and Tetero McMillan. I mean, the offense has a McMillan problem, and it's self-inflicted. Tetero McMillan should be the engine of this offense, point blank, period. When the Panthers are at their best offensively, he's involved early and often in creative ways. When he disappears, the entire unit bogs down into something predictable, conservative, and way too easy to defend. And lately, McMillan has been way too quiet, in my opinion. Like, we look great offensively against the Rams. I know that McMillan caught a game-winning 43-yard touchdown, but outside of that moment, the offense has been painfully underwhelming. The reasons are pretty damn obvious, though. When you look at Tetero McMillan's usage, okay, McMillan on the season has 102 targets on the season. It sounds great, right? But if we go look, I'm going to pull it up right now. If you go look at the last 3 weeks, or actually his last 3 games, I'm going to pull it up. All right, so the last 3 games where he's only been targeted. All right, so you look at it. This is just the last 3 games, man. All right. He's only been targeted. The total targets, 7 plus 2 is 9 plus 4 is 13. He's only been targeted 13 times over the last three weeks. That's a problem, man. 5 catches for 103 yards, 2 touchdowns in 3 games in the last 3 games. The numbers don't lie. I mean, again, against the 49ers, saw 7 targets, turned them into 2 catches. Not great, but at least the intent was there. But then you see the Rams. Yes, he scored that game-winning touchdown, but it was the only second target he got all game. Against the Saints, he finished with 4 targets, 2 catches, and one of those on a scramble drill, meaning it wasn't even designed for him. And he would have probably had a touchdown in that game if Bryce would have let him a little bit and more. And of course, if Tetero McMillan brings it in, of course, but it was good defense, right? But that's not how you treat a player, in my opinion, who's supposed to fit to tilt coverage and dictate the defense's lineup. That's how you let a weapon not rot on the vine. Like, we've already seen the blueprint, so why abandon it, right? that's one of the most frustrating parts I've kind of noticed in the past couple games. Like Dave Canales already figured this shit out earlier in the season against the Falcons. The Panthers moved McMillan all over the formation, right? You saw him in the outside. You saw him in the slot. You saw him. They used him in motion. They had some stack looks. Guess what? The offense opened up when they did that. Like Bryce looked way more comfortable. Defenses had to account for McMillan on every snap, which created space for everyone else. And since then, the creativity has mostly vanished. Like McMillan has been stabled to static alignments, and defenses have really keyed, I think, on other options, and Carolina has willingly made life harder for itself. And again, Jalen Coker, don't get me wrong, his emergence is a good thing, but it's not an excuse. Like, to be fair, Jalen Coker has stepped up. I think he has earned his targets. He's made plays that he deserves to be involved in my opinion. But I do think another thing is that excuse me. I do think that this isn't an either or situation. Like, good offense don't sacrifice one weapon to feed another, right? They find ways to get both going, right? Like, we need to find answers for Coker, right? Because of his emergence, it's quietly phased McMillan out of the game plan, which that's a coaching failure in my opinion. That's not a personnel failure. I think this offense is at its best when defenses have to worry about both guys and not when one becomes an afterthought. It's just like TJ said, Bryce Young needs that alpha, right? And McMillan, I think, is at alpha, but I don't think that I think our coaching is with the game plan is an absolute failure the way they're using him. So again, I think a lot of people have been like, well, is this Bryce? Is this Canales? Is it a rookie wall? There are a few possible explanations for McMillan's disappearing right? Maybe Bryce, again, maybe Bryce isn't just looking his way. That seems unlikely given how, him and McMillan, the targets were early in the year and how clean his routes usually are. Maybe Canales is drawing things up and they're not getting called in the heat of the moment. Impossible. But again, McMillan's early season usage to me suggests that that's not the whole story. I think that the most likely answer here is that maybe McMillan has hit a rookie wall and that the coaching staff is quietly pulling back instead of pushing through. And if that's the case, it's understandable, but it's also not acceptable if you're trying to go win a division, right? Like you don't win the NFC South playing scared. Like if the Panthers if we really want to make the playoffs, you cannot afford to treat McMillan like a luxury item. He's not a situational weapon. He's not a decoy. He's not someone you sprinkle in. He's the guy who forces defenses to adjust. He's supposed to be your alpha, right? Ignoring him doesn't make the offense safer. It makes it smaller and slower and easier to defend. Like, I think Canales is a genuinely gifted offensive mind. I do think that, but sometimes I think he outthinks himself, like overthinks himself. I think sometimes he makes things more complicated than it should be, and he doesn't need to be. I think there's times he contradicts himself, right? But get McMillan the ball, man. Like, move him around, scheme touches, force their defenses to react, right? Because if we just keep putting up 17-point performances while leaving the best playmaker on the sideline, mentally, the NFC South isn't getting stolen, right? It's getting handed back to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So that's one thing I think going forward I want to see more of is Tre'von McMillan getting some more work. I think Jimmy Horn Jr. should definitely get involved. I do think Jimmy Horn Jr. should get involved more for sure. I do think that I do think that with some motions, some seam plays, right? But I do like to use him in motion a lot. I think that I like that. Another thing is I want to see more two tight end sets. I would love to see Deion Sanders, Mitchell Evans more often in two tight end sets. I would also love to see more two running back sets and gun as well. I want to see some different schemes. I definitely want to see the offense schemed up differently. But I definitely would want to see Jimmy Horn Jr. Outside a little bit more as well. I think Jimmy Horn Jr. with that speed, you have to give him a chance to be outside. I think he could be. He's very dangerous. I think he's a guy that can really take the top off of defense. Again, Xavier Legette made a great catch in the last game, but he just has not stepped up, man. What has he done to tell me that I'm like, yeah, he's doing his damn thing, right? It's like, but he's not. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, but anyways, guys, I appreciate everyone joining the live stream. I'll hop off of here. Appreciate you guys. I'm gonna see you. I will see you on Friday. I'm definitely gonna be breaking down this Buccaneers game front to back of it, as I always do. Make sure you guys pound that like button, hit that subscribe button, as I always ask and request. Make sure you guys click that post notifications bell so it always notifies you when I'm live. That's important. If you're following me on Facebook, Instagram, X, I would greatly appreciate it. Make sure you follow me on TikTok as well. But again, appreciate you guys. We got a lot to talk about on Friday, man. So shout out to everyone in the chat. And again, appreciate you guys. I will see you on Friday. Keep pounding. I'm out. Peace.